So, patch 10.11 rundown. As always, going to go through. All of this is subject to change. This is what is on PBE. Hypothetically, there are still things that could change last minute. So obviously the patch notes are the real source of truth. But in the meantime, this gives an idea of kind of what we want to do. So, goal for this patch is it is the last patch before the mid-set expansion, when ranked resets. And so typically for the last patch to be part of, the ranked push, people pushing for that final rank, end at number 1, we don't want to change too much. So this is going to be a very small patch. Not a lot of system changes. There are definitely things we're not happy about on live, and we're making big pushes for that in the mid-set expansion. But so for now, this is very small adjustments. So let's go over it. First off, there is one new galaxy. If you've been watching the stream, you've seen it a couple times. This is Little Legends. The Little Legends are smaller and faster, which is kind of a just for fun thing. Feels good. They actually have higher pitched voices. It's very cute. And you only start with 85 health, so it is a little bit of a more aggressive lobby. What we found is that what this actually does is, if you're in 7th or 8th, you might get knocked out quicker. But actually, if you're in like the top 6, this doesn't actually change much for you. So, yeah, cool. So, new galaxy. Last one for this half of the set. All right, trait changes. There's only 2 trait changes this time. First off, Chrono 4 and 6 are being buffed. We're still not seeing Chrono 4 and 6 be very good. So we want to give them a small buff. Chrono 6 case, it's actually a pretty big buff. But yeah, so Chrono should hopefully be a little bit more enticing of a build. Yeah. And Infiltrator. Infiltrator, this is actually a nerf to make them a little bit more counterable. What this is the Infiltrators will now jump quicker, which means, let's say you put all your Vanguards in the backline, they'll actually catch them. Because what will happen is your backline will move 1 square, the Infiltrators will have actually landed now, and then you can actually start to fight them. So this should make Infiltrators a little bit more position-rich instead of just automatically getting to hit the backline. So we think this will be a good change for Infiltrators. All right, next up, Champs. 1 costs. Currently on live, there's definitely a meta of hyper-rolling 1 costs. So we're going to try to bring that down just a little bit. Before anyone has their over-exaggeration of like, oh, it'll mean the comp's unplayable. Like, no. The comp will still be playable. Like, you'll probably still see hyper rolls in 10-11. The goal is not to eliminate them. It's to make them a bit weaker. So, in Caitlyn's case, Caitlyn 3 doesn't quite get to do as much damage. What this means is she'll still probably one-shot most things, but what it also means is she won't gain as much from Celestial, because typically that build is running Celestial, so she will gain less health. Graves 1 and 2 has basically been the best opener in the game for a long time. So we're just going to bring down that blind duration a little bit. We still think Graves will be really good. Graves 2 is still basically a 3-second you have to miss. So this will bring Graves down a little bit. Jarvan. Jarvan is an interesting champ in that the 3-cost version actually has one of the highest win rates, especially in the early to mid game. So we're bringing down the 3-cost Jarvan, but we are not nerfing 2 and 1 cost. And in fact, 1-star Jarvan gets a small buff. So Jarvan just kind of gets sandwiched together a bit. Should make him just as good in Dark Star, but not quite as good in the Hyper Roll comp. Lastly, is Xayah. Everyone looking for Xayah damage to go down. I'm sorry to disappoint. Xayah is supposed to be a carry. That's okay. So what we're going to do is instead just slow her down a bit. So her mana goes from 50 to 70, so it takes a while for her to turn on. Joke there. But yeah, so this will slow Xayah down just a little bit. Now, the one thing I'll say is that patch notes get locked a week before, and we've definitely seen a rise of Kha'Zix. So if there's anything I would expect to change between now and the actual patch notes, we will definitely take a look at Kha'Zix, and I could see Kha'Zix being added here. Again, it's not on PBE yet, but I'll tell you that got my eye on him, and he'll probably get nerfed. So we'll see, though. Nothing for sure. Does this eliminate Shredder as a comp? No. No, Shredder will be just fine. Again, our goal is not to eliminate comps. Our goal is to make them a little more fair. So, yeah. All right, on the 2-cost side, kind of like Graves, Blitzcrank for a while has been secretly ridiculously strong. We're okay with that. We think Blitzcrank is actually one of the most position-rich characters in the game. So we just wanted to bring him down just a tiny, tiny bit. So in this case, he just loses 50 damage on his ult. Small thing, but that way if you get blitz hooked, you might not necessarily just get one shot and die pretty quick. But just a small nerf. And then Lucian is just fine at 1 and 2. Blaster early game is really good, but there's basically no reason to ever 3-cost a Lucian. And so we're just trying to nudge that up a bit so that if you do 3-cost Lucian, it feels a little bit better. So, yeah, Lucian 3, small buff. On the 3-cost side, not a lot here. Master Yi has sort of fallen out of favor, and we do want Master Yi to be an exciting carry. So Master Yi gets some attack speed back. This is actually a pretty big buff because attack speed, as you know, means he stacks Ginsu's faster. His ability actually gives him true damage. So, yeah, an attack speed buff like this is a big attack speed buff. So, yep. On the 4-cost side, 2 small changes. Actually, I don't know if the Cho change is small. It's kind of a big change, but Cho'Gath was meant to be a premier 4-cost brawler whose spell is impactful in big CC, but a lot of the times, even at 3-star, he never casts. So this is a very big buff. To be honest, I'm a little nervous about this buff, but it's a big buff. Cho will probably cast now, so 25 mana is a big buff. It's also another reason why Kha'Zix might need a nerf, but yeah, so Cho getting a buff, good stuff here. And then lastly is Kale. Kale is a really exciting 4-cost unit. Honestly, my favorite, personally. Really strong, really good. We're happy about this. So we wanted to find a way to nerf Kale that keeps her fun. And the idea here is just a 10 mana nerf, very slight, so that she turns on just a little slower, giving you a chance to edge out the fight. She'll still be good. She'll still be powerful. Those RFC Kales are still going to eliminate teams. But just a small nerf. So, all right. There are no 5-cost changes this patch. Last thing is an item change. One of the things, as much as everyone likes to meme on the 2 Vanguard 125 armor, Vanguards are supposed to be the anti-physical damage. That's their job. They have the best effective health against physical damage. Brawlers have the best effective health overall. Protectors kind of in the middle. So Last Whisper, though, has kind of failed our hard counter rule from the past, where it's it basically eliminates everything. You can go 4 Vanguard, and this just says, nah, JK. So by lowering it to 75 armor reduction, what that does is now if you've got a Vanguard with 300 armor, or 250 armor, 250 plus the 40 they have, 290, let's just round it and say 300. Now instead of going down to 30, they will go down to 75. So that's a pretty big buff for the Vanguards. So this should make Last Whisper still a good item, still the anti-Vanguard if you need to tear through, a Candyland Poppy or Vanguard, but it won't just be sorry you don't get to exist. So just a slight armor reduction there. Lastly, there are 2 minor things on the bug fix side. Actually, this is more of a feature. You saw me show this earlier, and I can show it again today after this, but you can now zoom in and look around on both PC and mobile. So you can zoom in. Before you could zoom in, no problem, but then you couldn't move the camera. Now you can move it around. It's kind of fun. Definitely helps on mobile. And then lastly, there was a small bug where Master Yi's attack speed ratio was incorrect. Basically, this meant that attack speed items on Master Yi were better than they were supposed to be, but by a minor amount, so it's just a small bug fix. So, all right, that is it. That's it. 10-11, small patch. Like I said, Just trying to keep it small, trying to keep the end of Galaxies Stage 1 kind of the same. So yeah, that's going to do it for the patch. Take it easy.